Welcome everyone to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking a comprehensive study guide for W.B. Yeats' absolute masterpiece, The Second Coming. Now, whether you're gearing up for a big upcoming exam or you just want to finally understand a poem that constantly echoes through modern history, we've got you covered. We're going to break down its structure, its meaning, and its core themes to figure out exactly what makes it so incredibly powerful.
Things fall apart. The center cannot hold. It is one of the most universally recognized, chilling lines in all of English literature, right? It's honestly incredible that a poem written over 100 years ago, literally in the direct aftermath of World War I, still perfectly captures our modern anxiety. In fact, if you've ever found yourself doom-scrolling late at night and felt like society was just completely unraveling, well, you've probably seen these exact words quoted. Whenever the world feels unpredictable and chaotic, these are the words people instinctively reach for. Today, we're going to understand exactly why.
Just to ground us before we start, our text and analysis today are drawn directly from the pristine archives of the Poetry Foundation, specifically their definitive 1989 edition of the collected poems of W.B. Yeats. Working from a super reliable source text is always that critical first step in any solid literary exploration.
All right, here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at Things Fall Apart, then cover some key exam definitions, move into the loss of innocence, explore the Spiritus Mundi vision, track how the rough beast approaches, and finally, we'll wrap it all up with your core study topics. Don't worry, we are going to hit all the necessary vocabulary, stanza analysis, and overarching exam themes you need.
Section 1. Things Fall Apart. Stanza 1 Breakdown. Okay, let's dive into this.
The poem opens with this vivid image. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Right away, Yeats is using the image of a falcon losing touch with its falconer to visualize a really terrifying loss of control and order. Think about it. You have this highly trained bird of prey, but it spirals so far up and out into the sky that it literally can no longer hear the commands of its master standing on the ground. That vital connection is just broken. The study text highlights this as the primary metaphor for a society that is losing touch with its foundational rules and just completely spinning out into chaos.
Section 2. Key Exam Definitions. Essential Vocabulary. Let's make sure you have the exact terminology you need to unlock this poem's pretty dense symbolic language.
First up on your vocabulary hit list is the gyre, spelled G-Y-R-E. It essentially means a widening, turning spiral or a vortex. What's absolutely fascinating here is that for Yeats, this specific shape represents a cyclical view of time and history. He actually believed that history moved in these massive 2,000-year cycles, spinning outward like a giant cone. It spins and spins until the structure simply collapses under its own wide, unstable momentum, which then paves the way for a completely new, contrasting era to begin. So when he says the widening gyre, he's telling us that a whole era of human history is physically spinning out of control and coming to an end. Next is Spiritus Mundi, which is a Latin phrase translating roughly to spirit of the world. The source guide points out that for your exams, it is absolutely crucial to understand this term. It acts as a collective spirit or a universal memory of the entire world where all human visions, archetypes, and symbols come from. Basically, it acts as the supernatural, almost psychic source of the apocalyptic hallucination that the speaker experiences later in the text. And finally, the title itself, The Second Coming. Now, traditionally, especially in a Christian context, the concept of the Second Coming implies a really hopeful revelation, right? The return of Christ to bring peace and ultimate salvation. But the guide heavily emphasizes that Yeats uses this title ironically. Instead of a hopeful, joyous revelation, he subverts our expectations. He uses it to signal a dark, terrifying, monstrous new epoch that is arriving, one that is completely devoid of any traditional salvation.
Section 3. The loss of innocence, societal collapse. Let's look at the immediate consequences of that broken center.
He writes, "Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned." Notice the repetition of that word loosed there. It implies something highly dangerous being violently unleashed from a cage. And that blood-dimmed tide suggests this massive, unstoppable way of violence that literally drowns out purity, tradition, and the ceremony of innocence. It is a totally unflinching, visceral depiction of pure anarchy replacing civilized order.
And this brilliantly illustrates what is undoubtedly a massive exam topic for you, the total moral inversion of society. While the best lack all conviction, meaning the good people are paralyzed by doubt and exhaustion, the worst are full of passionate intensity. The evil people are energized, acting with absolute fanatical fervor. This terrible dynamic is the ultimate symptom of a society where the center has simply failed to hold.
Section 4. The Spiritus Mundi Vision, the desert image. This is where we shift from the breakdown of our current world into a terrifying vision of what replaces it.
The speaker suddenly states, "A vast image out of Spiritus Mundi troubles my sight. Somewhere in sands of the desert, a shape with lion body and the head of a man." The sheer chaos of the crumbling world has triggered this sudden, haunting hallucination, drawn straight from that collective unconscious we defined a minute ago. He literally sees the sphinx-like creature waking up in the barren, empty desert sands. It's this ancient, mythological force rising up into the modern world.
And look closely at how Yeats describes this creature, a gaze blank and pitiless as the sun. This line is so essential. It emphasizes a complete and total lack of human empathy. You see, the beast doesn't hate us, it is just blank. It's pitiless. It is entirely indifferent to human suffering, much like the harsh, burning desert sun. As it's moving its slow thighs, its sheer unnatural presence is so incredibly disturbing that even the native desert birds are reeling around in indignant panic.
Section 5. The rough beast approaches a new era. Let's focus on the poem's chilling conclusion, where this dark revelation about time truly takes shape.
So the crucial point is this specific number, 20. The speaker realizes that 20 centuries of stony sleep have just ended. This represents the 2,000-year span of the Christian era, an entire epoch defined by the values of the New Testament. And according to Yeats's concept of those spinning gyres, that 2,000-year cycle has now exhausted itself. It's over, and a radically different, terrifying new cycle is about to begin.
Now, the study source points out a truly stunning use of irony right here. The rocking cradle heavily alludes to the birth of Christ in Bethlehem, but the profound irony is that the innocence of Jesus' birth, that very cradle, is what agitated and vexed this ancient sphinx-like beast's sleep into a horrifying nightmare. A nightmare that has been gestating for 2 millennia and is now finally waking up to take over.
Section 6. Core Study Topics, Synthesis for Exams. Let's piece everything back together into a memorable mental checklist for your tests.
Synthesizing the text, we have 4 overarching, actionable themes you absolutely need to know. Number 1, the cyclical nature of time, represented by the spinning gyre and the end of that 2,000-year cycle. Number 2, the breakdown of societal order, visualized by the falcon disconnecting from the falconer and pure anarchy being loosed. Number 3, moral inversion, where the best lack conviction while the worst are full of passionate intensity. And number 4, the arrival of a pitiless new era, embodied by that sphinx-like rough beast with its blank, sun-like gaze.
Ultimately, the poem ends on this lingering, unresolved question. And what rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born? Notice that it's slouching towards Bethlehem, the traditional birthplace of Christ. But it's not going there to find salvation. It's going there to replace it with something monstrous. It leaves us so provoked, looking at our own chaotic modern world and wondering, when the center fails to hold today, what exactly is waiting in the wings to take its place?